Ladies, gentlemen, everyone in between and outside of the spectrum, because I'm inclusive like that, I have a confession I must make. Over the years, I've been too harsh on a game. One I'm sure you're familiar with. It is the fourth installment in a classic rally racing series first released in the 90s. A series that over the years has sold millions and millions of copies, generating fans on all continents. A series with a name held in so high regard that even a passing mention is sure to set at least one pair of pants on fire. I am, of course, talking about Sega Rally Revo. But you thought I was gonna talk about V-Rally 4 for a second there, huh? Something along the lines of how I'd squirted out the last video, achieved post-nut clarity, and realized, holy shit, V-Rally 4 is the best rally game ever. Well, get your mind out of your ass already. I don't feel like I have to explain why I said what I did about V-Rally 4. It's an at-best decent game with the KT stable, questionable decision-making, and generally having no idea what the IP they just bought is all about. It's the game SimDads can point to with one hand and say, I like to play games that are fun, while simultaneously using the other to stab Project Cars 3 to death with a spoon. Because if a game goes from largely arcade to most definitely gamer simulation, that's a good thing. And if it's the other way, SimDads will flock to the complaints thread on GT Planet like neoliberal fuckwits to an anti-mask demonstration that's actually just a thinly veiled attempt at a coup. And no, I don't feel like I have to apologize for that sentence either. Now that we've got the zero punctuation segment out of the way, I do want to apologize for some of the things I've said and thought about Sega Rally Revo over the years. Now, when it comes to forgotten racing game gems from the 7th generation of video game consoles, you're not exactly short on choice. There's of course the famous case where Mod Nation Racers, Blur, and Split Second all decided to launch at basically the same time, meaning most consumers had to make sacrifices that ultimately put the latter two on even more of a losing track than Disney and Activision were already railroading them down. But these are games that have found a dedicated, active fanbase and are still gushed over more than a decade later. They've become modern cult classics, falling just short of being full-on vaporware. Sega Rally Revo never really got the same attention, and that's a bit of a bummer to me. It is technically the fourth installment in the Sega Rally franchise, after the first two games released primarily in arcades and on PC, and Sega Rally 2006 was apparently an AC-exclusive PS2 title. I didn't know that. Revo was the first game aimed squarely at the home platforms. I believe I first got this game for PS3 some 10 years ago or so, and that was possibly the worst time it possibly could have come into my possession. Back then I was very much a SimDaddy in the making. When I bought my first PS3 it came with two games. I bought it for Gran Turismo 5 Prologue and thought Ratchet & Clank Tools of Destruction was for a very specific subset of nerd. Irony hasn't been kind to me. Point is, I was a twat. Words like fun were banned in my vocabulary, which meant that I didn't appreciate what Sega Rally was all about. I wanted something so real I could almost smell the dirt. Point to point, one car at a time, no two runs ever being the same. Think Dirt 3, but ever so slightly more tuned towards simulation while still being playable on a controller, with more cars on longer stages. I'm actually still looking for a game like that, but it's not the top of my priorities. Sega Rally wasn't that. And as a result, me from oh so long ago wasn't all that interested in it. And then I grew up. Maybe it's because I played Need for Speed 2015 and realized that expecting anything from video games is just going to make you disappointed. Maybe it was because I was put into a new education and eventually got a job and realized that there are more important things to games than how closely it comes to simulating driving a GT3 car around one of the only 6 racetracks in the world, which are obviously Spa, Nürburgring, Lausanne, Suzuka, Laguna Seca, and Bathurst. I'm not ashamed to admit that I had to Google that most of those exist. That's how uninterested I am in them. I've been driving nothing but these very same tracks in every single racing game that's released, starting with the PS2. Give me some fucking thing else. Maybe my mind and body finally decided to enter puberty about 10 years too late, the lazy fuck. Or maybe I just decided playing games was a lot more fun than being another brick in the neckbeard wall. And guess what? In that light, Sega Rally is actually good fun, and decently challenging. Its DNA as an arcade cabinet from the mid-90s is proudly on display, and it genuinely improves the experience. Let's take the main menu for instance. V-Rally 2 had a menu that was pretty straightforward. V-Rally 4's menu might as well have been constructed using menu point soup. Meanwhile, the Sega Rally Revo menus are the sleekest I've seen in any racing game. Bar none. They are the essence of keep it simple, stupid. To you, good sir, a chef's kiss. Pun somewhat intended. And the best thing is that unlike when Gran Turismo tried doing this in 2013, it doesn't feel like a cheaper experience. all of this is somehow reflected in the game, where everything just is as streamlined as it gets. Everything superficial has been cut off. No character customization, no suspension tuning, no nothing. Pick a car, pick a track, and boom, you're on the starting grid. This game knows that you play most racing games to drive cars fast around a track rather than deciding which shirt this victory celebration will look best in. That works for games that have a secondary focus on role-playing such as the Test Drive Unlimited series, but it would be ridiculously out of place in a game like this. In a surprise twist to every single other rally game, you're starting out in the four-wheel drive World Rally cars that are usually reserved for last. The way you progress in the game is that you use those cars to win points in championships, win enough points, and you unlock new championships and tiers to win even more points, and so on and so forth. The tracks used do get a little similar as there's only 15 base layouts plus a couple of reverse tracks, but it's serviceable and anyway it's over quickly enough. Eventually you reach a finale, and after winning that in the WRC car, you unlock the Super 2000 class. Like I said, it's a bit backwards in terms of how real careers progress, but who cares? Rinse and repeat, and you eventually unlock the Masters series, which is where all the classic cars can be found. You know, the cars that would usually be locked in a bonus vehicles class and unusable in the game? Yeah, they're all part of the progression here. Bonus cars instead means things like a rough from before the Rally GT class was cool, various Pikes Peak and Paris Dakar races, and a goddamn Hot Wheels! Forza Horizon as a franchise was still a half a decade away from its first installment, and here's Sega Rally with a Hot Wheels! And it's not even DLC. The actual races themselves, however, are a bit of a mixed bag if I'm honest. It's probably just that I've gotten so much better at the game over time, but the AI never really puts up a substantial challenge anymore. Which is a shame, because I have plenty of both good and bad memories of battles that either did or didn't just come out in my favor. I guess it's one of those handling models that once you get the hang of it and know how to exploit it to advantage, you basically become a driving god, which I'm all for that. Speaking of the handling model, you want to know what this game brought to the table that Richard Burns really laid the foundations for and Codemasters only recently decided to make the laziest possible hack job of a copy-paste off? Track surface degradation. Except where in the two other games it's a perfectly stationary system of, oh, the further down the running order you are, the more degraded the track as a whole is. This one, because you're racing in real time, happens in real time. Which means it works a bit like natural catch-up, at least on the first lap. Gravel and snow will have a covering of loose surface on top of a hard, grippy bottom, and on tarmac you'll lay down rubber to increase grip. Get on those tracks and you'll be a lot faster in the corners. It's basically life track, but from a time where Ian Bell still hadn't realized that EA was the only shithead bigger than him. I don't know what it is about non-Codemasters rally games from before the year 2010 and being innovative, but they fucking are. V-Rally 2 had a fully free mode track creator on PS1. V-Rally 3 had Forza Vista before Codemasters decided to do something similar for Colin McRae 2005. Don't worry, I'll be doing a thing on V-Rally 3 as soon as I've unlocked everything. Trust me, it's coming. Can we also take a moment to appreciate the advertising campaign this game had? Two Valley girls go rallying for whatever reason and shenanigans ensue. And that's from a time before the internet got itself looped up in Samir breaking cars. Which, on that subject, while I had a good laugh at it, that was from a 40-minute long video of Samir's comeback after some time out, and it completely destroyed the co-driver's career. Justice for Vivek Ponusamy. Sega Rally as a franchise has been dormant for a while now. The last release was the confusingly named Sega Rally 3, which was basically a slightly changed version of Revo made for arcades and then ported back to consoles a little later. For 10 years at this point, nothing. Which, rather worryingly, puts it on KT's radar of relevancy. Consider this a post-mortem then. Sega Rally. What started as the game that followed Pac-Man as the one game your arcade basically couldn't survive without, to a game that went under the radar when it was made into a home release. A game that combined the best of the past with technology that was yet to be possible. It's doubtful we'll see a new Sega Rally anytime soon, with the company being busy restructuring itself and focusing on manager games, JRPGs, beat-em-ups, yada yada yada. Even the most recent Daytona USA from a few years ago is only on PC due to PC Magic, so while a Sega Rally 4 may not be unlikely, a Sega Rally Revo 2 probably will never happen. And the world will be all the worse for it. Rest in peace, Sega Rally Revo. You were too pure and too good for this world. We don't deserve you. To end us off on an appropriate note for the customary groovy outro, I am proud to present this channel's very first award! When a YouTube channel does an original award, they do so to honor a special achievement, and in the case of this channel, we want to honor complete incompetence and full adherence to neo-capitalistic ideals. With that in mind, the very first recipient of this award is Activision, primarily for their treatment of Toys for Bob, makers of such games as the Spyro Reignited trilogy, Crash 4, and former Activision cash cow Skylanders. Most of the team has now been let go, and those still on board are degraded to Call of Duty support team, because Activision doesn't have enough of those already. In addition to that, their CEO and renowned good guy, butt-plug cunt-flap, tried to score some goodwill by copying Satoru Iwata by slashing his own base pay in half. At face value, and in a GTP news article, that sounds great, but if you have a brain, there are a few issues with this. First, his base pay is already so obscenely ridiculously high that after the slash he ends up with a salary roughly equivalent to Iwata's before he got it. Secondly, we're only talking about his base pay. We're not talking about the many millions he's said to receive in bonuses and stock options. Oh no, those are safe. So really it's pennies he's missing out on. Thirdly, this only happens because he's come under increasing pressure for being an overpriced cum guzzler. If this was to save jobs, like it was when Iwata did it, Activision would not have laid off almost 1,000 people over several rounds within the last year. A year where people could really do with not being out of a fucking job. And this would have happened a fuck of a lot sooner. The sheer amount of Activision unironically publishing a game featuring the character Moneybags, being perfectly content with laying off people in 2020 and 2021, and only adjusting butt-plug's salary because the SEC's flames are finally scorching their well-worn ass. This would be an all-time top post on self-aware wolves. So congratulations Activision, you are the worthy, first ever recipient of the piss-colored Drill Dozer. I hope you're fucking happy. Remember the 2016 Ratchet & Clank movie where Ratchet & Clank never really interact with each other and don't get any character development? Yeah, turns out it has deleted scenes, some of which are actually really good.
Next!
The other blarg have asked me to approach you, the warbots, about your use of target acquired.
Target acquired.
Yeah, no, I got it. Thing is, you have a vocabulary of 650,000 words, so I would encourage you to use a phrase, any phrase other than target acquired.
Target acquired.
Okay, I am not a target, so you can say something else like hello, or how are you, or
Target acquired.
this right here, Carnival of Pain. Yes, Captain, what can I do you for?
Greetings, citizen. Just returning from patrol.
Copy that. Deactivating shield grid 24A.
Target acquired.
So, in the future, whenever I want to refer to V-Rally 4, I shall instead refer to it as...
Carnival of Pain.
Boy, can I not wait to see the comments of people who don't get this.